Welcome to Unspoken with Aggie Park. Around here, we keep it real and raw. Nothing polished, nothing perfect. Because life, as we know it, yes, even with Jesus, never is. This is where the unspoken parts of our stories come into the light, not to glorify the pain, but to glorify the God who heals and redeems it all. Shame has no power nor any chance to win when Jesus is in our stories. And my prayer is that every time you listen, you are reminded that hope is alive and freedom in Jesus is always real and always possible. Welcome, guys, to the very first episode of Unspoken with Aggie Park. I'm super duper excited what God will do through this podcast. And my hope and my prayer is, and if you guys can pray for me and every single episode and guest and topic too, that He would get so much glory and joy and awe and wonder and praise from this. The vision and goal and prayer and hope of this podcast is to unashamedly tell every part of our story, because no story is ever too far gone and no part of our story is ever too shameful for Jesus to heal, to redeem, and to use for His glory. I really believe that when we speak out the truth, when we speak out the pain, when we speak out the hidden things that lie, that bondage loses its power. So my prayer and hope is that through this podcast, people would find freedom and healing in Jesus Christ. But anyways, in line with my vision to be real, raw, honest, even though I have typed out my testimony, I really want to share from my heart and be led by the Holy Spirit. So if at any given moment, you're like, wait a minute, that don't make sense, something in her timeline is kind of missing or off, please do message me on the socials in the link or in the description below. So here is my story. I grew up from a very broken and dysfunctional family. I didn't get to see my dad until I was 6 or 7 years old. So I was separated from my dad before I was even born. And during my first 7 years, even though I don't remember much, I just remembered a lot of physical and emotional abuse from my mom. I really believed that I was worthless and useless and did not have any value or purpose because there was no single positive word or action or affirmation from her. So I really believed that, man, if my mom, who was supposed to love me unconditionally, or not just even unconditionally, was supposed to somehow a little bit love me, didn't love me at all. Why, you know what I mean? Like, why am I even created? Why am I even here? So the lie that I'm still healing from of just viewing myself as useless and worthless sometimes, it began from those moments. But God saw me. God had so much mercy on me because when I was 7, my dad flew from Germany to Indonesia. That's where me and my mom lived. And they remarried and we all moved to Germany. And my dad treated me with so much, just like a human being, like with so much just dignity and just value. He really loved and cared for me as a regular human being, which I thought I wasn't even the slightest to be worthy of, And the crazy part is 1 year after we moved from Indonesia to Germany, there was a cultural war between the Indonesians and Chinese people. And I'm ethnically Chinese. So in 1998, there was a war where the Indonesians raped and killed Chinese people in front of their families. So you see how God always redeems your pain, because if I didn't come from a broken family, Germany would have been completely out of the picture. And Lord knows what could have happened to us, right? But anyways, we were living in Germany, and even though I found just a new sense of worth with my dad, when I was alone with my mom, I still lived in constant fear and anxiety every second of it because I would not know when the next episode of just screaming, yelling, blaming, and hitting me would be. And so, yeah, that was hard. But on top of that, um, I was one of the two Asians in the entire school in Germany. So they made fun of how I looked, how I talked. And so combining that with just how my mom not hated me, but it's just like she didn't value me and she didn't love me. And then people making fun of just who I am, just that lie of just low self-worth or value less or worthlessness just continue to deepen inside my heart, inside my mind, inside my soul, right? And now looking back, I understand why I made the choice to date very toxic and abusive ex-boyfriends. I just remember in high school because I was and sorry, because at that time also our mom already left to another country to do her own thing, and she never bothered to check up on me or my sister, which who was only 6 or 7 or 8 years old at that time. But anyway, so she was gone. She was out of the picture. I didn't really have a close relationship with my dad either. So I was just looking for love in all the wrong places and people. Okay. Like, I just remembered in high school, guys would just quote unquote play to date me just because, oh, she's such an easy target. She would just take anyone. She can just, whatever we say to her or do to her, she would just take it and be in a relationship with you and give you anything and everything that you wanted. And so that's what they did with me, right? They would just treat me like I'm nothing and did inappropriate things to me. And after that, just ghost me and just spread rumors across the whole, um, you know, class or classes that I'm just I'm just a very easy target. I'm just like a cheap target. So that really that really hurt, honestly. Um, but anyway, um, but there's one dude that really changed the course of my life. He was not only toxic and verbally abusive and narcissistic, but he also had a gambling addiction. Mm-hmm. Great choice, Aggie. Well done, right? So I gave him my tuition money for his gambling addiction. Stupid me. And my dad is a very conservative dad. Like he said, no dating after college, after you graduate college. And so when he found out that not only was I dating, but I gave his hard earned money away to this toxic dude, he got so pissed. Like it was just like a movie, okay? Like he took my passport away. We drove 2 hours to his house. The parents were just yelling, and I don't know. I think they were kind of getting physical too. So it was just crazy. It was like a real life drama. But he took my passport away to prevent me from going to back to the States. I was in Indonesia at that time to go back to the States. So for 1 year, it was just constant verbal abuse. I just remembered I did not want to be close to my dad at all. And we lived in the same house, and obviously, but I didn't even want to go to the bathroom because the bathroom is next to his room. So every time he would, he heard, he heard my footsteps, he would just summon me into his room and tell me how stupid and just useless and just basically all the negative, just all the shaming and condemning, right? And he did not only do that in private, but he also did it in public. So he told his friends and his family that I was just so stupid and whatever. And I just remember my uncle from my dad's side, he's very temperamental. I don't know how else to say it, but he's very like when he's angry, he shouts, okay? Like it's scary when he's angry. So I just remembered we were planning to go on this family dinner, and I just knew, okay, I'm just gonna be publicly shamed again. I was so afraid. I was just I was so anxious. But I remembered sitting in the back seat with my MP3 player. Yes, I'm that old. And I didn't listen to Christian music back then. So I knew that was God singing over me, speaking peace over me. Because a Christian song called Walk by Faith by Jeremy Camp came on. And it basically sang, would you believe that every step I would guide you. I will be with you, talking about Jesus. And that this broken road prepares my will for you. And I did not have a clue what that all meant until today, until I'm doing this podcast to bring the same healing that I have received and through other stories too to others, that this broken road, all this pain and trauma and tears, he is using it. He is using it for his glory. But anyways, it gave me so much peace because whenever God talks to you, it gives you peace, even though you do not have a clue, okay, what he's saying to you. But anyways, I just remembered at that restaurant, um my uncle still did scream at me and yelled at me. The whole restaurant just looked at me. I was so embarrassed. I think it went on for an hour or so. But I just had enough of the constant just yelling and shaming and blaming. And I did not have anyone to turn to. And so I just ran away from my dad's house, which is crazy because I'm not naturally a quote unquote wild person. But, you know, when you're in so much pain, you do things that you normally would not have done. So, I jumped from house to house. I lived mostly in my ex-boyfriend's, yes, that gambling addicted dude's mom's boyfriend's house. My aunt's house, my grandparents' house. It was just crazy. And looking back, I did not know, of course, God, but like, wow, like I survived that, Lord. You really protected and provided for me. But then one day my aunt calls me, and here's another provision. Because I grew up in a broken family, you know, I lived with my aunts and uncles too. And so God already knew, mom already left, dad is pissed at Aggie. Who is gonna help her? My aunt, right? If I didn't come from a broken family, I would not have a close relationship with this aunt. And Lord knows if I could ever go back to the States. But anyways, she called me and she said, hey, do you still want to go back to the States? And I was like, heck yeah. I didn't say it to her like that, obviously, but in my head, I was like, heck yeah. And so she said, okay, go back to your dad's house. I was like, excuse me, ma'am, what? Go back to my who? House? He's literally gonna kill me. Like, Yeah, no. But God knew what he was doing, like he always does. So I did go back to my dad's house because God knew that on that day, um, my dad would miraculously give me my passport back. And the next scene just felt like a movie. Like I called my aunt, okay, I got my passport. What now? And then she said, pack your bags. I'm going to pick you up when your dad's not home. So I just remembered packing just whatever was in my room quickly. And I just remember, if I remember it correctly, I think my sister was in the room with me as well. She was 6 or 7 or 8 years old. And it just breaks my heart to think, like, sis, are you leaving me too? Like, why is everyone leaving me? And it just took me so many years to process this and to see her in so much hurt and pain still after all these years, that she had to do it. She had to deal with the pain on her own. Dad was working, mom wasn't there. She's so confused. Why is everybody leaving me? What did I do? All those questions, right? And so I'm sorry, sis. I'm sorry for what you had to go through all by yourself as a kid. No kid should have ever experienced that. And I'm praying for you every day that God will heal and redeem your every pain like he is doing with me. But anyways, my aunt told me, okay, I booked a ticket. Here's $2,000. Don't worry about anything. Just focus on finishing school. And I just remember sitting in the window seat. I was like, oh my goodness, how is this ever going to work out? Right? I don't know any single soul there. I don't have a place to stay. College starts in a week. I have $2,000 and the tuition was way above that. So, but, but God, but God, always faithful, right? 3 days before school started, he housed me where the landlord was either an elder or a pastor. I don't really exactly remember, but I know he was a leader in the church. And so I know I was covered in prayer. And truly believe that those prayers carried me where I am today with Jesus. So if you, the Tambunan family, listen to this podcast, thank you for your prayers and support and love. And they also brought me to church every Sunday and connected me to my brothers and sisters who really loved and cared and treated me as true family does. Because we are true family in Christ by Jesus' blood. So I guess, long story short, I know it's a lot of details, but long story short, if I didn't come from a broken family, again, culture war in Indo, I don't know what would have happened, right? If I didn't come from a broken family, I would not have the struggle of low self-worth, and I would not have dated this toxic, abusive, gambling addicted dude who caused the 1 year delay. And if that 1 year delay didn't happen, I would not been housed in a house where the family covered me in prayer, where they plugged me into a community where they prayed for me too. They loved and cared for me, and they kind of like restored all those just years where people treated me like crap. Like, that would have never happened. And if I didn't come from a broken family, I would not have grown up and therefore not have a close relationship with my aunts who helped me to go back to the States. And if I wasn't in the States, I don't think I would have been able to, do this podcast. And if this, you know what I mean? Like, God redeems your every pain. And not to say that your pain is nothing or to minimize your pain, but his redemption is always greater than your pain. Always, because he's a good, good father, and he promises that everything, the good and the bad, he works it out for good and for his glory. So I just pray that my story has somehow encouraged you, showed you that God's faithfulness is rock solid. You can always, always trust God's faithfulness in the most broken, in the most seemingly hopeless situations. You can always count on God's goodness and faithfulness. And so if you have been, or you are right now, or you will in the future, go through a very broken and just, I don't know what kind of word, very, very broken and very just traumatic and sad season, know that you can always call upon the name of Jesus. Know that you can always run to Jesus, the only one, okay? The only one who can not only fully understand you, because whatever pain, whatever tears, whatever trauma you have experienced, he bore it on the cross for you. Okay? Not just depression in general, not just abuse in general. No, like your specific depression, your specific abuse, he bore it in his body, beaten, bloody body on the cross, so that, as Hebrews says, when we come to him, we don't have a great high priest that cannot empathize or sympathize with us perfectly, because he endured it on the cross for us, for the joy that was set before him. So it's so crazy to me that we can bring it up to him, and that gives him joy. If you know what I mean. Like, it gives him joy that, like, his children come to him and surrender all their burdens to him. Cast all your anxieties or all your burdens to him, for he cares for you. So I just want you to know that, with Jesus, there's always hope. With Jesus, it might not make the road easier. It might not make the redemption faster, because it took me I think it's like 15 to 20 plus years for me to see the other side of my pain and of my trauma. Usually it doesn't come instantly. It doesn't come fast, because God wants you to grow your dependency and the maturity of trusting him and knowing who he is more and more. But know that he is always working behind the scenes in gazillion ways you can't even begin to imagine. It will blow your mind when you see the other side of your pain. It would just blow your mind. Okay. You would just fall on your knees and just weep in adoration of how good and how faithful Jesus has been, is, and will continue to be for all the days of our lives into eternity. But anyways, that is my story. And again, my hope and prayer for this podcast is not only that it will be quote unquote just a podcast, but it would start, I don't know if I want to say a movement, because it has like a negative connotation about that word. I wouldn't say like, oh, go power, like whatever, right? No. I'm saying it would start a good movement where people unashamedly, it would start a ripple effect of people coming out unashamedly every part of their story, because Jesus already took that shame away from us in his body on the cross, so that we can share it openly and to see how he redeems even the most darkest, ugliest, nastiest, most shameful parts of our story. So it gives people who are in the dark, who are in who are in situations where you were, hope that their story is not a dead end, that there's always hope with Jesus, okay? And also that it wouldn't just be a podcast. We just talk for an hour and a half here and that's it. No, my hope and prayer and vision and goal is to build a community where you and I and every listener can really connect with one another, grow deep with one another, share our deepest struggles, share our deepest pain, and truly walk life together, truly love one another, pray for one another, encourage and support one another. And that is why, if you go to my website, the Unspoken Pod, Pod, not POT. Okay, just say it. POD, the unspokenpod.com. There is like tab on in the, what is it called? I can't talk. On the top. Yeah, a tab on the top. Okay. A tab on the top, it says community. So if you click on that, you guys can start discussions. You guys can, share comments or polls or whatever. I just want this not to be a one-man show, but I want this to be a community. So if you know somebody that their story is just could give so much hope and healing, type that in that discussion forum. Or if you know a topic that could bring so much healing and erase so much shame, type that in the forum. I really want people to be set free and to be healed in Jesus' name. And I don't know all the answers, okay? Trust me, I don't know all the answers because I have zero podcasting experience. I mean, I did co-host a podcast, Erasing Shame, for a season, but besides that, I have no clue, okay, how to run it. So that is why I'm asking you, please, to pray for me, for God to give me more wisdom and more anything and everything that would make this as He would have made it, like how He wants it, okay? But anyways, long story short, I hope and pray this episode allowed you to know me more, my heart more, my testimony more. I'm not just this, I don't know, this face in front of the camera. I'm not just this podcast host, but I really want you guys to know me and to, grow deep with me and the Unspoken with Aggie Park community and family. So any questions, any comments, anything, feel free to message me on the socials in the description below. Thank you guys for listening. If I don't see you on the community website, I will see you on the next episode. Until next time, continue to run to Jesus. Bye! Thanks, fam, for hanging out with me today on Unspoken with Aggie Park. I pray that this gave you hope and reminds you that in Jesus, no one is ever too broken and no story is ever too shameful for Him to heal, redeem, and to use it for His glory. If this has somehow encouraged you, share it, because you never know who might need that reminder that with Jesus, hope is always real and hope is always possible. And if you want to go deeper with the Unspoken family, head over to the Unspoken Pod, that is POD.com, where you can start conversations, connect, love, pray, and walk alongside one another. Until next time, Lord willing, keep running to Jesus.